In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Welcome to the Objective Podcast with your host, Jay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I'm your host, Jay, and this is The Objective. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 11 of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you for the continued support that you give me. If you haven't already, I want you to follow me on Instagram at The Objective Podcast. And also, if you aren't following me or subscribed to my channel here on YouTube, be sure to do that and click that red button. For those of you who are looking at this content on www.politicalstorm.com, thank you for visiting the page. Take a look around at the different tabs that we have. We have something for everybody. Thank you guys for your support of independent media. So today, guys, we are going to talk about two topics in particular. Now, I know one video that I did recently did very well. It was the Jussie Smollett investigation being passed on to the FBI. And I predicted that this case would be compromised as soon as that whole phone call and interaction between Tina Chen and Kim Fox took place. So it just so happened about a week or just under a week later, that's when the charge was dropped. If you guys haven't checked that video out, be sure to check it out. I'll put a link in the description. But before we get to my take on the whole Jussie Smollett investigation and the mentality of many people that the ends justify the means, and that idea and philosophy directing their morals, we'll discuss that. But I want to first talk about the whole Joe Biden accuser situation with inappropriate touching. Now, you guys probably heard what's been going on. Former Vice President Joe Biden, who has not yet officially stated or put his bid in for the 2020 presidency. And it seems like it's going to be really awkward when he decides to do that, guys, because he has been getting slammed. And when I mean slammed, I mean 7 women have come out stating that they've been inappropriately touched, some kissed by former Vice President Joe Biden. Now, he came out with this video, and to me, it was a little awkward, especially because he hadn't yet stated he was going to run for the presidency. It was awkward. You could tell he's uncomfortable. And then obviously, to top it off, President Donald Trump does what he does best and utilizes Twitter and completely trolls him with this video. I don't know if you guys seen the video yet, but it's pretty much his apology video. And then somebody, I don't know who did this, but they kind of put his own hands on his shoulder, rubbing him. And you hear this person sniffing like, it's just weird. It's weird. But it's interesting because the state that politics and society even is in right now as a result of the Me Too movement. And don't get me wrong, I believe that victims of sexual assault, especially when it comes to people being taken advantage of other people in high positions and positions of power, where these victims don't have a voice out of fear of repercussion for making a complaint against someone who is in a prominent position. I'm very much on board for giving these people a platform. But as we know, politics tarnishes and poisons things that are or were once noble. And with the whole Me Too movement, it's turned into a completely political movement, and sexual assault allegations are used as a hammer and a sword against opposition, which I think is disgusting because there are real victims. I know real victims of sexual assault. And what happens when you politicize it, you make it very hard for actual victims to be taken seriously or to even muster up the strength to make a complaint. Now, the Democrats have found themselves in an interesting position where they have painted they have pretty much taken the helm of this Me Too movement. But there's a caveat, because in order for you to make a complaint, you have to first look through the red goggles, meaning that every complaint, every sexual allegation that is made known and made public, if it is against a Republican, that's when it needs to be dealt with. That's when it needs to be pointed out. That's when you need to be loud and upfront and an activist against such egregious behavior. But when it's a Democrat, that's when you see people come out and say, well, hold on, just wait a second here. Do we have all the facts, or what's the motive behind these people coming out against this Democrat? It all stems from the mentality of the ends justifying the means, right? So here we have President Donald Trump. The 2020 election, Democrats want to get him out of office. They will vote for a ham sandwich if that ham sandwich had a chance to beat the president. And what's dangerous about the ends justify the means philosophy and mentality and ideology is that you get to the point where it is justifiable to do wrong. It is justifiable to lie. It is justifiable to circumvent the law, only because at the end of the day, the goal that you're working towards is a moral one by your own standards or by the party's own standards. This is very extremely, extremely dangerous, because then you see, and I mean, this would be a good place to transition to the whole Jussie Smollett investigation. Now, this is very, very, very bizarre, and I hope that the majority of people who know about this case understand that and see that this is extremely bizarre. Because, and this is, pardon me if that was an abrupt or jarring transition, but for my first topic, but you have Jussie Smollett, who it's a very high profile case. The whole hate crime hoax was a very high profile case. Now, it was in the headlines. People were concerned. People had expressed concern. You had politicians commenting on it. It was at the forefront of the media when it took place. When it came out to be a hoax, it was even further pushed into the spotlight, and people were really curious as to what would happen. All eyes were on this investigation and what would take place. People who have seen the inside of prison cells, who have seen the justice system work against them. Some people who've seen the justice system work in general are all looking at this situation where you have a black male, a homosexual male, two designations that are considered disenfranchised in certain circles, and you have him in a position where and he's a celebrity, where his career is done. He's facing 48 years in prison, and everyone's looking, waiting, wondering, and you know what? I think some people knew exactly what was going to happen. And the Chicago Police Union is just so angry at the result of this. Kim Foxx dropping all charges against Jussie Smollett. So now we see that it's not about white privilege. It's not about black privilege. It's about who you know. It's about how far of a reach you have, how influential you are. And you have a case that's, it's so brutal, because it wasn't just that he was charged and the prosecutor recommended charges. The grand jury, which is made up of about 16 to 23 people, recommended charges based on a sliver of the evidence. We're talking, we have CCTV, you have receipts, you have two witnesses whose story corroborate what happened. You have so much, and this is all in the public realm, and people have this understanding, have this knowledge, and it's pretty much an open shut case at that point. And then all of a sudden the case gets dropped after a prominent individual connected to high influential politicians speaks to the state attorney. And not only was the case dropped, but the court case is sealed. So people don't know what happened or why it was dropped. And Jussie Smollett still remains or maintains his innocence, stating that nothing that he said was a lie. He says that the two brothers that allegedly attacked him was a lie. So he's maintaining his innocence, maintaining his victim card. And the case is dropped. Now, usually if it's a plea deal, it's kind of like, okay, you plead guilty to this and we'll make sure you don't see the inside of a prison cell. You could do community service, whatever the case may be. But he gets off. The charges are dropped completely and he is still maintaining his innocence. It made the Chicago Police Service or department look like a complete joke. And now what you're seeing is that now they're rising up and the city of Chicago is, I guess they're going to sue him for $130,000 because all he had to do was pay, I think it was like $10,000 and like 2 days of community service for $130,000 of wages and work that went into the investigation. Just ridiculous. Now, it's a travesty of justice, and it's all confirmed again that the justice system is broken unless you are connected. And that's a horrible thing. So Kim Foxx is facing a no confidence vote. And I am looking when this whole thing came out, I was just like, man, I wish I wasn't right. But yeah, that's where we are, guys. That's where we are. So pay attention to what happens with this whole investigation of whether Jussie's going to be sued for the $130,000. I'll be paying close attention to it. But guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. Make it your goal to be objective. Have a good night.